What's going on guys, Kate is here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the top 4 best builds for PvP and PvE in New World. So for each and every single build, I will explain what attributes and perks you want to have, then what gems and specific gear you want to use. Then as well I will show you the best gameplay of me using the build so you would know which abilities you want to use first on your enemies and much more. And on top of all this, no matter if you are a healer, tank or DPS, you will find the best build for your class. So then moving over to the first build, which is the one and only Ice Gauntlet and Fire Staff. And these are the attributes you want to have. So first things first, no matter from which level you start using this build, you first of all want to get your intelligence to 150 or even 200. And then start building your constitution. And at late game always have this 3:1 ratio, so have intelligence 3 times more than constitution, and around level 60 you should have 300 intelligence and 100 constitution. And last but not the least, for your gear you want to go with full light armor, but feel free to have even 1 or 2 medium gear pieces, but just always stay in the light category. Okay, so then moving over to the first weapon, which is the Ice Gauntlet, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock all these 3 perks and then the first ability called the Ice Storm, and then get these 3 next perks. Then from here, now let's move over to the other side and unlock this 1 perk, and then the second ability called the Ice Shower, and then unlock the next perk to him as well. And lastly, unlock the last third ability with the next perk. And now from this point, you're feel free to spend your points in whatever order you like. And now let's go over to the second weapon, which is the Fire Staff. And these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock both these 2 perks and then the first ability called the Fireball, and then get these 3 next perks. Then afterwards unlock the second ability called the Pillar of Fire, and then the next perk to that as well. And now let's take a closer look at the other side and unlock all these 3 perks. Then lastly unlock the last third ability called the Burnout, and then get these 2 perks. And now from this point, you're feel free to pick and choose which perks you want to unlock next. Okay, so now let's go over to the gameplay where I will show you the best way to play this build. So first of all, we have the Fire Staff, and the Q ability, aka the Burnout, is a big dash spell, which you can use for mobility, or if you hit enemies while dashing, they will take extra burn damage. Then the R ability is called the Pillar of Fire. I usually use it only on groups of players and never in 1v1s, because it will deal decent damage but you have to stand still for a second while casting the spell. And by doing this, you become a very easy target, so only use this spell in group PvP. And lastly we have the F ability called the Fireball, which is a very powerful damage spell, and as it is an AoE, you don't have to hit directly an enemy with it. You can just aim it at the ground where the target is standing on, and it will damage him as well. So now let's move over to the second weapon, which is the Ice Gauntlet. And your Q spell is called the Ice Storm, which all enemies standing in it will get damaged and slowed. And the more enemies you hit, the higher damage you will get. Then your R ability is called the Ice Shower, which when using will create an ice wall. And if players go through it, it will stun them. And lastly we have the third ability, basically like an ice block, which by using you put yourself in ice where players cannot damage you, and you can't go out of the ice block by pressing the same F key, or instead press the right mouse button and make it explode, while going out of the ice block dealing even more damage to the enemies. So as far as your ability combinations go for the ice block when farming mobs or even players, the best spell combination to do is place the Ice Storm, aka the Q ability, and then go ice block by pressing the F key. And players or mobs standing in the storm will be taking a lot of damage every second, and you will be fully protected in the ice block. And then of course place the Ice Shower, aka the R ability, whenever you want to stun an enemy or run away from him. And this will create a wall which the enemy cannot go through. And then as far as your Fire Staff abilities go, use the Fireball and Pillar Fire on grouped up enemies. And to run away from players or run towards them, use the Burnout ability. And especially in wars, this spell is really good because when you use it and it dashes, it will do damage to all players that you just dashed through. So you can easily one-shot them if they're low health. And with all this said, now let's go over my final conclusions for this build. This Ice Gauntlet and Fire Staff weapon combination right now is by far the best DPS build that you could have in New World. Because of the perks we have selected, you don't have to run out of mana ever, and you can save money on buying mana potions. So you can just easily do only heavy attacks, which you do the same way like a normal attack, but just hold the attack button for a second longer. And this is called a heavy attack for a mage. And then of course, last but not the least, for the Ice Gauntlet and Fire Staff, use the Emerald Gems. And then for your gear, amulets and everything else, use the Enix gems, and that's about it. So if you're looking for the best and highest damaged build for mage class, then this is the weapon combination for you, so have fun. So now let's take a closer look at the second build, which is the sword and great axe. And these are the attributes you want to have. And just so you would know, this is the best tank build in the game that is really good for PvP and as well PvE. So then, like you can see, always you want to split all of your attribute points to have. So have 50% in strength and 50 in constitution. And around level 60 you should have 200 strength and 200 constitution. And last but not the least, for your gear you want to go with full heavy armor and use a shield as well. So then for our first weapon, we have the best tanking weapon, aka the sword with shield. And these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first things first, right off from the start you want to unlock both these two perks and then get the first ability called the leaping strike. And then get these two perks. Now from here let's move over to the other side and unlock the second ability called the shield rush. And then get these 4 perks. And then lastly unlock the last third ability called the defiant stance. And then get these 2 perks. And now from this point, you're full free to pick and choose which perks you want to unlock next. And then going over to the second weapon, which is the great axe, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock the first ability called the reap, and then get these 2 perks. Then afterwards unlock the second ability called the charge, and then get these 2 perks. Then from this point, now let's move over to the other side and unlock all these 3 perks. Then lastly unlock the last third ability called the gravity well, and then get these 3 perks. And now again from this point, you're full free to pick and choose which perks you want to unlock next. So then let's move over to the gameplay where I will show you the best way to play this tank build and get out of your abilities the best possible results. So first things first, for your sword, the Q ability is called the leaping strike, which does a leaping animation for 6 meters and deals damage. Then the second ability is called the shield rush, and this time you run very fast for 5 meters. And when you reach an enemy, you knock him back. And lastly, for the F ability, we have the defiant stance. And when you activate it, it reduces all incoming damage for 8 seconds. And for PvE, if you have equipped a taunt gem, which I will explain later, you can use the spell to pull mobs on you, so it would be easier to tank. So then for the second weapon, we have the great axe. And the first Q spell is called the gravity well, which you can aim and shoot, and if you hit a target in that electric storm, he will take damage and get stunned. Then the second ability is called the reap, which basically extends your axe for 5 meters, and if an enemy is running away, you can pull him back. And lastly, we have the F ability called the charge. And this is another dash ability which will deal damage and give you more mobility. So the best way to attack a player is first of all use your gravity well, and then dash in with the charge. Then when he's about to run away from you, pull him back with the reap ability. And then switch to the sword, and then you can keep on using auto attacks and the leaping strike, or the shield rush ability to catch up to a player or keep on dealing damage. And then lastly, I always save it for later, but when the enemy is about to hit you with a lot of damage or in PvE, use the defiant stance and increase your resistance and just keep on blocking the incoming damage. And last but not the least, if you fight against a ranged build, then when attacking or moving around, always use the shield and block all the attacks while moving, and the perks we have selected will give us extra speed. And when we fight another melee build, then just in between auto attacks, don't forget to use the block system as well, and that's about it. Okay, and now for my final conclusions for this build. This sword and great axe weapon combination right now is by far the strongest and best tank build in New World. Because of the perks we have selected, not only you're super tanky, but you have a lot of mobility spells. And most importantly, this build is so versatile that is good in dungeons, 50v50 wars, even in 1v1 open world PvP, and much more. And then for our gem choice for the sword and great axe, use the Carnelian Taunt gem for PvE, and then get the Jasper gem for PvP. And then for all of your gear, amulets, rings and everything else, use the Diamond Wilderness gem. So what are you waiting for? If this build sounds interesting to you, then try this one out and enjoy. So then moving over to the third build, which is the one and only Life Staff and Ice Gauntlet. And these are the attributes you want to have. So first things first, if you start from level 0, you want to get your focus to 150 and then start building your constitution. But always have this 3:1 ratio, so if you have 90 in focus, have 30 in constitution and so on and so forth. And around level 60, you should have 300 focus and 100 constitution. And last but not the least, for your gear you want to go with full medium armor, but feel free to have 1 or 2 gear pieces of heavy armor as long as you stay in the medium category. So then moving over to the first weapon, which is the life staff. And these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock this perk and then the first ability called the Sacred Ground. And then afterwards unlock all these 5 perks. Then let's go over to the other side and unlock this one perk. And then the second ability called the Beacon. And then get these 2 next perks. Then lastly unlock the last third ability called the Light's Embrace. And then get these 2 perks as well. And now from this point you'll feel free to spend your points in whatever order you like. And now let's move over to the second weapon, which is the Ice Gauntlet. And these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock all these 3 perks and then the first ability called the Ice Storm. And then get these 3 perks. Then from here, now let's move over to the other side and unlock this one perk and then the second ability called the Ice Shower. And then unlock the next perk to him as well. And lastly, unlock the last third ability with the next perk. And now from this point, you'll feel free to pick and choose which perks you want to unlock next. Okay, so now let's go over to the gameplay, where I will show you the best way to play this build. So first of all, you are a support healer, which means that your main objective is to heal your teammates from a distance. So let's take this practice target for an example as one of your teammates. So for the life staff, your Q ability is called the Sacred Ground, which you have to point and select the area you want to place it in, and then cast it for a split second. Then the R ability is called the Light's Embrace, and it basically works the same way just for a single target. And lastly we have the F ability called the Beacon, which you can just aim and it places a huge healing on the ground. And if you hit the target you can attach the spell to him specifically. So instead of circles being on the ground, it will be attached to a player, making the spell very useful in wars and in group content. And as we already in the first build looked into the Ice Gauntlet, so I won't repeat myself the second time. But basically in a short summary, if a player is attacking you, place the Ice Storm on the ground and then go Ice Block. Then if the enemies are still on you, make the Ice Block explode and place the Ice Shower ability, making a wall which the enemy cannot go through. And then as far as your healer spell combinations go, it is your own personal preference. Depending on the situation, use one of the other spell first. So for example, when your teammates are low health and grouped up, use 2 AoE healing spells called the Sacred Ground and Beacon. And to keep healing your tanks or other players that are by themselves, use the Light's Embrace ability. And then of course don't forget to use the Ice Gauntlet to deal extra damage, or on the other hand, just use it to get out of dangerous positions, and much more. And now for my final conclusions for this build. This Life Staff and Ice Gauntlet weapon combination right now in my opinion is the best and strongest healer build, because you can use it in 1v1s, open world PvP, 50v50 wars, then even in PVE expeditions and much more. As you are a healer, you can always stay in the backline and support the rest of your teammates with all the healing spells. And then at the same time you can switch to the Ice Gauntlet and deal damage, or go into a Ice Block and get out of all enemy incoming attacks. And last but not the least, you use medium armor so you can survive for a lot longer, but you still get that 10% increased healing plus all the other buffs we get from other perks. And then as for your gems, for the Ice Gauntlet you want to use the Arboreal gem, then for your life staff get the Rally gem, and for all of your gear use the Wilderness Forge gem. And to understand better healers and how to play them, check my healer video, and there you will learn why we are using these specific gems on our weapons and how they will make this build work very well. So in a quick summary, if you're looking for a very strong healing build that is very good in every single activity in the game, then this is the build for you, so enjoy! So I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback or other good builds that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and you won't miss any more amazing content from me. With all this said, you have an amazing day and I'll catch you in my next video. So take it easy. Peace.